Today, we're going to play the remastered, re-released Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles video game, originally for the PlayStation 1, and see if this Star Wars classic can still offer the same kind of fun it did back when it was brand new. Now, it's been 25 years since this game released. Was it the most popular or mind-blowing Star Wars game ever made? No. Was it a game that I spent a lot of time playing in my youth? Absolutely. The Phantom Menace had just rekindled Star Wars mania across the globe. Now, here was a game where you could choose to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Adi Gallia, or Plo Koon, and run through armies of battle droids, mercenaries, Tusken Raiders, and various level bosses with your lightsaber. So when the updated remaster from this PS1 classic was announced, I pre-ordered it immediately. I loved this game when I was a young gamer. It was difficult. It is not the easiest game to complete. It's a side-scroller at times, a platformer, your standard fare of starting a level, making your way through various enemies and obstacles until you get to the level's boss fight, then repeat in a different environment. Except here, you were making your way through the movie narrative. At the time, in the year 2000, this game, as simple as it was in concept and as difficult as it was in execution, had me hooked, despite the limitations of PS1 software, which there were a few glitches and frustrations at the time. Some of those glitches and frustrations are still there in the remaster, and it still has a lot of PS1 elements in terms of graphics, but to Aspire's credit, there was a lot of work done on the environments, the clothing, even the faces of the Jedi you choose to play. Gone are the polygon mashups, and we get sharper and clearer characters, especially their faces, and the depth perception on the environments are easier to ascertain. And this second part is important because frustration with playing the original always became how many times you needed to restart a level because you misjudged the distance of a particular jump and then fell to your death. But I have to say, before we get into any real negatives, I'm super happy with the work Aspire did to get this game polished up. Yeah, cynical gamers will say it's just an ancient PS1 game, but maybe that's the difference here between who this game is marketed towards. I am the core audience for this game, a Star Wars fanatic who has an extreme sense of nostalgia for this game because of the timing of its release compared to maybe someone who was not alive at the time and has so many other Star Wars games to choose from now. But unapologetically, and maybe a little biased, I can tell you, this game is still a lot of fun. Any game where you get to wield a lightsaber and take on the role of a famous Jedi Master is always going to be a fun game. I've already put about 15 hours into playing it, and yes, it does have a lot of replayability, with different characters to choose from. And that's always my favorite part of this game. You can choose Obi-Wan Kenobi, level him up, learn all of that character's specific combos, and then do it over and over again with the other available Jedi. After successfully completing each level, you could choose more health or more force power, choose a new combo, all in preparation for the final battle at the end. And yes, it is multiplayer, but old school multiplayer. Nothing is online. Your partner needs to be sitting next to you, which is helpful because if you're not actually totally in sync with your fellow Jedi, you can easily fall off of a cliff or the side of a building, and then you die, and then your partner's on his own until the next checkpoint. That is if you have enough lives left before the game kicks you back to the very beginning. Now, each character has their own fighting style, their own way of holding their weapon, their own unique takes on force powers. For me, Adi Gallia has the best and funnest combos in fighting style. She has speed to her attacks, whereas Master Plo Koon is slower, more powerful in his dueling. And that's the fun of it. Some players will prefer the more deliberate and elegant sweeping attacks of a Mace Windu compared to the frenzied speed of an Obi-Wan. And yes, all of the special characters come unlocked in this new version. You can start off by playing as Darth Maul and using his double-bladed lightsaber. An improvement because if I remember correctly, when you unlocked him in 2000 by beating the game, he only offered the single blade, not the double. So for me, that's a win right off the bat. You can be Padme, Captain Tanaka, a battle droid, a Rodian, even Jar Jar Binks, as well as some other characters once you beat the game on any difficulty level, easy mode or Jedi mode. You could be a rifle droid, a Tusken Raider, Weequay, a destroyer droid, and these are just a few of the added unlockable characters that become available to you in this new remastered version. And this is where the replayability comes in. Going through the levels is a different persona, which then offers different challenges, because although being a Jedi is great, sometimes you just want a character with a good blaster at his side. And speaking of the levels, the music sets the mood and changes as you progress. The soundtrack is all there, including the Duel of the Fates. The game, for its time, truly tried to emulate the cinematic experience for the gamer. And as for the levels, you are basically playing through the film's environments. You start out on a Trade Federation ship, move to Naboo, traverse the Gungan forest, make your way to the palace, rescue handmaidens and then the queen, head off to Tatooine, protect the young Anakin Skywalker, and this is where you'll first encounter Darth Maul, but he's easy at this point. You're also given a couple of levels on Coruscant, my personal favorites by the way, then back to the Gungans and Naboo, and you get to drive a battle droid tank and a speeder bike. Now the speeder bike level can be arduous if you don't master the elevation controls. Then finally, into the palace again to face off against Darth Maul, who's a real SOB as a final boss, requiring you to wear him down, chase him, wear him down, chase him some more, maneuver through obstacles until finally you end up at the pit and hopefully end the Sith Lord. Again, depending on which character you're using will dictate your strategy on fighting him, which combos are most effective, which ones give you the best timing to strike, and which ones you've mastered along the way. And there are bonus levels. You can be a droideka, rolling through the palace on a timer to achieve your goal, play Gungan soccer with Jar Jar as the ball, stabbing him with a staff to get him into the goal, or a survival pit where you have to see if you can make it past wave after wave of enemies with limited health power-ups. Priced at just $18 US, that's a lot of game for the money. Now there are things that still annoy you as a gamer. The two biggest are the audio and the limited movements. At various times the sound effects will cut out or not match NPC behavior, and when you're waiting to deflect a blaster bolt based on hearing it, this can become discombobulating and cause you to take a hit and deplete your health. As well, sometimes a grenade will explode and kill you, except the sound comes after the explosion already occurred. Again, timing of movement is a huge chunk of successfully completing this game, which is still not the easiest Star Wars game ever created. I died multiple times when I first played through it. The second thing I wish they fix is that as you side scroll, sometimes the angle of movement changes on you and you cannot go backwards for a power up or a hidden item because the game itself forced you to go a certain way. It sort of becomes an invisible roadblock and you just have to marshal along and hope to come across another power up. These dead spots can also affect your line of sight as unseen droids fire at you, and you cannot see exactly where the attack is coming from, and these are holdovers from the original game, and for some reason, I remember them vividly. Other than that, after so many hours of gameplay, I've not had one freeze, one glitch that crashed a game, one major breaker. Sure, you can get stuck in a corner as a boss repeatedly blasts you to death, but that's part of the difficulty of the game. You're a Jedi. Jumping, dodging, moving quickly is something you have to master to avoid these pitfalls. And accuracy with your jumps is critical as well. Some jumps, if you don't hit them just right, end up becoming death drops into an abyss, sending you back to the beginning of the game or the level. And again, yes, I'll tell you, this can be a difficult game and you can die very quickly when surrounded by battle droids rapidly firing at you. You can only block so many blaster bolts before one gets through. But in the end, this is a 25-year-old game that received a good amount of TLC, a game that is as fun today as it was back in its initial release. It's definitely worth the $18 for any Star Wars fan looking for old school gaming fun and some childhood nostalgia. And that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, I'm still your reluctant gringo from somewhere south of the border. Salut, a huevo, and may the Force be with you. Always.